I was the fake daughter of Lord Harrison's manor. The day the real daughter was found and returned, the entire household was filled with joy and celebration. But the moment Daisy stepped off the carriage, she immediately tripped and fell flat. Lord and Lady Harrison embraced, weeping, too excited to speak coherently. "It's our daughter. You can tell just by looking, she is our true biological daughter." I stood behind them, sleeves gathered, utterly speechless. Truly, the clumsiness runs in the family. Daisy's return shook the entire Harrison household. Her newly furnished, elegant courtyard never lacked guests. Even the dog kept by the third branch of the family came to watch the excitement. I did not wish to make things difficult for the Harrisons at that time, so I never made an appearance. It wasn't until night fell and the guests had dispersed that I finally remembered to inquire about Daisy's situation. The people in Ms. Daisy's courtyard today look unfamiliar to me. Who sent them over? The young steward of the Harrison Manor stood respectfully before me. Replying to Ms. Audrey, Grandma Martha arranged it. The hand holding my teacup paused, and I raised an eyelid. The head steward quickly pushed his nephew aside. Replying to Ms. Audrey, this old servant has investigated. Although the staff were sent by Grandma Martha, they were actually employees that Aunt Beatrice had secretly transferred to Grandma Martha long ago. It seems the second branch must have used some methods to get them placed in Ms. Daisy's courtyard this time. I set down my teacup, satisfied. I understand. Tell them to be meticulous and not wait for the mistress to have to command every little thing. Ms. Daisy has just returned to the manor and is naturally constrained. If I find out anyone has neglected Ms. Daisy. The head steward immediately bowed slightly, bringing the young steward along. Ms. Audrey, please rest assured. I will personally supervise them and ensure Ms. Daisy is not wronged in any way. 3 days later, I had my first direct confrontation with Daisy. Frankly, she had perfectly inherited her parents' best qualities. Her skin was fair and delicate, her round face held round eyes, and even her mouth was plump and pouty. This type of countenance was simply not suited for arrogant and disrespectful expressions. It had the jarring, utterly comical effect of a child trying too hard to imitate an adult. "You're Audrey?" The wild girl my parents picked up from outside. I set down the book scroll in my hand and sized her up. Seeing that I didn't speak, Daisy grew more spirited. "I'm telling you, pretending to be mute won't help. I am the biological daughter of the Harrison family. Now that I've returned, you cuckoo usurper must quickly step aside. Tomorrow I will report to father and mother and have them send you to the family temple for religious cultivation. You've benefited from the Harrison family for all these years, but now it's enough." Watching the chirping Daisy, I felt extremely resigned. For someone to successfully borrow the tiger's might, they first need to be a fox. How did a mere rabbit find the courage to run up to me and make a clamor? "Who told you all this?" Daisy froze. "Huh? What?" Too lazy to argue with a little fool, I simply waved my hand at my personal maid. She left briefly with the stable boy and returned, dragging 2 junior maids and an elderly woman. Who was stirring up trouble between Daisy and me, and who reminded her that she could send me to the family temple? The face of the elderly woman instantly went pale. I let out a cold laugh and stopped pressing for details. Gag her mouth, pin her down here, and beat her. Don't stop until I say so. Daisy's expression instantly shifted from arrogance to terror. You. After repeating you for half a day without making any coherent statement, Daisy turned and tried to run. Stop. I only breathed those 2 words and Daisy instantly froze. In my courtyard, Daisy was forced to watch the entire execution process with me. In the end, that elderly woman had her legs broken and was sent to the estate overnight. And Daisy fainted from fright. Daisy remained sick for 7 days. The doctor insisted she was fine, but she simply refused to get out of bed. No amount of persuasion worked. Lord and Lady Harrison were perfectly aware of my actions that day. The couple discussed it privately for a long time, but ultimately they never came to confront me on behalf of their biological daughter. Only the one who tied the bell can untie it, and I couldn't let Daisy continue hiding inside her shell. Dressed in lavish clothes, I stood at her bedside. Get up. I have some free time today, I'll take you shopping. The head that had been buried under the covers suddenly shot out. Are you trying to take this opportunity to sell me off? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's absurd. How much could a clumsy girl like you possibly be worth? A new restaurant has opened in the south of the city, and I hear they have 4 renowned chefs, each famous for a signature dish. I reserved the premium, heaven-rank, private room a month ago. If you won't go, I'll go ask Uncle Silas's cousin Mia instead. Daisy's eyes darted around, as if afraid others wouldn't notice her useless brain spinning fruitlessly. I didn't try to coax her. Seeing that she didn't move, I turned and started to leave. Sure enough, a small, plump hand reached out from under the covers and grabbed my sleeve. I'll go. It wasn't lunchtime yet, so I decided to take Daisy around to browse first. This girl was certainly born under a lucky star. Though she was unfortunately lost by the Harrison family all those years ago, she was found and adopted by a wealthy merchant in Jiangnan. If Lord Harrison's manor hadn't possessed a certain status, they likely wouldn't have been able to retrieve this young lady. Wow, this necklace is so beautiful. My mother in Jiangnan also had a similar one made for me, but it wasn't this exquisite. I raised an eyebrow, took the item from her hand, and gave it to the shopkeeper. Send this to Lord Harrison's manor later. Also, bring out some better items for Ms. Daisy to look at. The shopkeeper quickly smiled in acknowledgement and turned to fetch items from the jewel cabinet. Daisy seized the moment when no one was nearby to quietly lecture me. You didn't even haggle. She made me laugh. You know how to haggle? Daisy gave me a look of annoyance. Of course. Are you spending my parents' money, which is why you don't care? That explains it. Why you're suddenly so generous to me? You must be trying to curry favor. I'm telling you. Don't you think that? This is my shop. It has nothing to do with the manor. Don't you think what? What did you say? This is your shop? This entire large shop belongs to you. I really couldn't bear to look anymore, so I covered her foolish expression with my hand. Just then, the shopkeeper returned, carrying several pieces of high-quality jewelry, which thankfully stopped her from continuing her foolishness. I waved my hand, instructing the shopkeeper to withdraw for the moment. Yes, mine, all mine. Just tell me if you want it or not. Daisy's expression was humiliated, but her tone was firm. I want it. I had intended to use the meal to have a good conversation with Daisy, but I hadn't realized this girl was actually just here to eat. For a good half an hour, I barely saw her lift her head. Finally, Miss Daisy graced me with a glance. Why aren't you eating? Full already? Can you help me shell these crabs then? My hands are tied up. Truly, there is a counter to every force. I, Audrey, resourceful and eloquent as I am, actually had moments where I was too stunned to speak. I watched as Daisy's stomach grew steadily rounder, yet she still refused to stop eating. Finally, I couldn't bear it anymore. Someone, clear these away and bring a pot of hawthorn rose tea. Seeing the look of injury on Daisy's face, I could only explain. If you like it, I'll bring you again next time. Do you absolutely have to stuff yourself to death today? Daisy wasn't stupid. She pointed below. Haven't you seen how many people are queuing at the door? It's not the kind of place you can just walk into and get food. Besides, you said yourself earlier that this private room had to be booked a month in advance. This girl had focused all her attention right here. Don't worry. I have a share in this restaurant. I guarantee you can eat here whenever you want. Booking a month in advance is only necessary because this particular room is so popular. Daisy could barely hide her delight. The way she looked at me completely changed. I rolled my eyes helplessly. You've been home for a while now. Tell me, what have you found out? Daisy's big eyes were wide and round. Huh? Oh, found out. Found out. Actually, I didn't find out anything much. It's just that someone told me you've been impersonating me to stay in the estate and throw your weight around. That I'm the real miss. And if I just drive you away, Mother and Father would only dote on me. Later. That person had their leg broken by you. I took a deep breath. You truly are Mother and Father's biological daughter. Daisy nodded repeatedly. As if there was any doubt. I had completely given up hope on her. 16 years ago, Mother and Father took you out to burn incense when they were unexpectedly caught in an earthquake. The wet nurse who was holding you died beneath the falling rocks, and that is when you were lost to the Harrison family. You were only 1 year old then. Aside from a small, flower-shaped birthmark on your shoulder, you had no other distinct features. Mother and father exhausted every means to find your whereabouts, but they were always unsuccessful. It wasn't until a year later that someone found me at the orphanage and thought the mark on my shoulder resembled the Harrison family's description. So, I was brought to my parents. But as I grew older, the mark on my shoulder slowly faded away. Just looking at my face, you can tell I am not their biological child. However, after being raised by their side for so long, there is certainly affection. Furthermore, with your whereabouts unknown and mother grieving inconsolably, my presence became the focus of her maternal love. In all these years, the Harrison family has never given up searching for you, not for a single day. You don't need to compete with anyone for affection. You are the Harrison family miss, the apple of your parents' eye, and that has never changed. Daisy pouted, her eyes turning red. I wasn't good at consoling young girls, so I quickly changed the subject. Don't think that being brought back to the Harrison family means you're here only to enjoy yourself. The Harrison family belongs to the Marquette, those we associate with our high-ranking nobility. Since you are the Harrison family's legitimate daughter, there are rules you must learn, and you cannot shirk your responsibilities. The servant woman who tried to incite you that day was sent to you by Aunt Beatrice of the second branch, using Grandma Martha's influence. She didn't actually believe that you, based on your own abilities, could drive me out of the Harrison estate. She was merely testing the waters, gauging whether the Harrison family's attitude toward me remains unchanged. Then, she'll find an opportunity to reclaim the management authority. You must. Wow! You're an adopted daughter, and the management authority of the Harrison estate is actually in your hands. Although we had been talking at cross purposes for the entire morning, it wasn't a total loss. At the very least, my relationship with Daisy had clearly eased. She was no longer insistent on driving me away. But at the official family banquet held to welcome her back to the estate, the inevitable happened. Aunt Beatrice's voice was both sharp and loud. The moment she spoke, she startled Daisy, who was busy gnawing on a chicken wing. I pretended to sip my tea, suppressing the smile at the corner of my mouth. Heaven truly has blessed us. Our Daisy girl has returned completely intact. Daisy, sitting beside me, muttered under her breath. What else? Was I going to come back piece by piece? I turned slightly sideways, my shoulders shaking. Oh dear. I think the play about the fake and real Monkey King in our Harrison family should finally conclude. Audrey dear, it's not that Aunt Beatrice doesn't care for you, but you are not of the Harrison bloodline after all. The Harrison family has provided you with good food and comfort for so many years, but it's not right for you to keep monopolizing what belongs to Daisy, is it? Now that the true mistress has returned, it's time for you, the substitute, to exit the stage. I think the ancestral temple here at Lord Harrison's estate is quite suitable. It's quiet, perfect for spiritual cultivation. After all, you won't find a second noblewoman in the entire capital who dares to lay hands on someone assigned by Grandma Martha. I remained silent and still, acting as if she hadn't been talking about me. Father was the first who couldn't stand it, but finding it inappropriate to argue with the inner courtyard women, he merely set down his chopsticks gently. Mother understood his signal and quickly spoke up. Sister-in-law, what are you implying? Audrey and Daisy are both our daughters, and we cherish them equally. That was a very sincere but utterly powerless defense. As expected, Aunt Beatrice completely ignored it, continuing to plan my life in the ancestral temple. Daisy couldn't listen anymore. She wiped her greasy little mouth. I don't want to drive Sister Audrey away. I think it's good having her here. She truly was. Mother and father's biological daughter. Watching the three members of the Harrison main branch struggle to match even half of Aunt Beatrice's fighting power, Grandma Martha finally spoke slowly. Audrey, what is your view on this matter? Oh? The old madam was actively passing the stage to me. It seemed she didn't intend to back the second branch entirely. I gracefully rose, walked to the center of the room, and smiled as I looked at Aunt Beatrice. With just that single glance, Aunt Beatrice tensed up and instinctively flinched backward. Grandma Martha, father, mother, and all the elders of the various branches. It is not news today that Audrey is not of the Harrison bloodline. Now that Sister Daisy has returned to the estate, which should be a joyous reunion for the whole family, why should Audrey suddenly become an eyesore? However, Aunt Beatrice is not entirely wrong. As the adopted daughter of the Harrison family, I am indeed ashamed to bear the responsibility of managing the household. So, while everyone is gathered here today, I shall tally the accounts currently in my hands. This will save a great deal of trouble for Mother or whichever aunt takes over in the future. The moment I finished speaking, the expressions of the Harrison family members present varied greatly. If I had to describe it, each person was excited in their own way. Aunt Beatrice felt she finally had the chance to seize the financial authority from my grasp. The others were rubbing their hands together, eager to watch the spectacle unfold. But a managing young woman who, at the age of 13, could thoroughly investigate fraudulent books and send 4 of her own managers to jail, how could she possibly allow herself to be manipulated? I slightly raised my hand, and the butler immediately brought men carrying several stacks of account books. Cousin Toby of the 3rd branch lowered his voice and whispered to Cousin Mia, "It's over. Sister Audrey came prepared. Uncle Arthur's wife is going to be in trouble." I chuckled softly and tossed 2 of the account books in front of Aunt Beatrice. "Aunt Beatrice, these detail the specific accounts of the 2nd branch. From the year before last until now, the 2nd branch has embezzled a total of 8,000 taels from the books. If we include funds acquired under false pretexts, inflated expense reports, and misappropriated loans, the total amounts to 14,000 taels. Aunt Beatrice, perhaps you could explain this." Aunt Beatrice's face went white, and she leaped up in shock. "Audrey, balderdash, who are you trying to shamelessly slander, you wretched girl? 14,000 taels. How dare you say that? How much profit does my 2nd branch receive in a year? We might not even have made 14,000 taels in total over all these years." Uncle Arthur's expression was also darkening. Although he didn't believe I would fabricate accounts to slander the 2nd branch, the figures were truly outlandish. "Audrey, my girl, is there some sort of misunderstanding?" I spread the account books open in front of Uncle Arthur. "Uncle Arthur, the 2nd branch certainly didn't receive this much money, because this silver went into Aunt Beatrice's private account. I sent people to trace the funds, and most of it was transferred into the name of Aunt Beatrice's nephew, Caleb. If Uncle Arthur doubts my words, he only needs to consider how Aunt Beatrice's maiden family has been living these past few years. The 100 mu of fertile land outside the capital, the newly built 3-courtyard estate, and the 2 beautiful concubines Caleb recently took on. All of this was paid for using our Harrison family's silver." Uncle Arthur's expression visibly changed. He was skeptical of the accounts, but the changes in his wife's family were something he had genuinely witnessed. He had previously chatted with his wife about how her elder brother's family had suddenly become so prosperous. Thinking back carefully, Aunt Beatrice's expression had been unnatural then. So she had sucked the blood of the Harrison family to feed her own maternal relatives. Smack. No one expected the usually good-tempered Uncle Arthur to slap Aunt Beatrice across the face. "Vixen, I told you just the other day to save some dowry for our daughter so she wouldn't be looked down upon by her husband's family later. And what did you say in response? You said that a girl's ability to establish herself in her marital home depended on her fate, and that the dowry was merely a token gesture. So you were deliberately neglecting my daughter just to subsidize that Caleb from your maternal family." Aunt Beatrice was caught off guard and fell heavily to the ground. Covering her face, she looked at Uncle Arthur with disbelief. "What's wrong with helping my own nephew from my maiden family? Caleb is the only male descendant of our family line. I am his paternal aunt. Am I supposed to just watch him suffer? It's just a bit of silver taken from your Harrison family. How dare you hit me? I bore you children, and you hit me just because that little vixen Audrey provoked you with a few words. Why should this cheap slut that the Harrison family raised be in charge of the household? She ought to be married off as a concubine to my nephew. And when he tires of her, she should be sold to a brothel, to become a filthy common whore." Smack. Uncle Arthur's next slap was even heavier, directly knocking out one of Aunt Beatrice's front teeth. Shrew. Shrew. You scheme against my daughter, and now you want to harm my niece. I must teach you a proper lesson today. The pleasant family dinner ultimately ended in chaos and fighting. I secretly checked Grandma Martha's expression. She remained calm. It seemed the old woman had been prepared all along. I pulled up the dumbfounded Daisy. Come on, let's go back and rest. Daisy's mouth was shaped like a perfect circle. You can still sleep? The shock Daisy experienced tonight was greater than the day she first tried to challenge me. The young lady absolutely refused to sleep alone and climbed into my bed, clutching a small pillow. Tell me properly, why did things blow up tonight? It wasn't because I came back, was it? I pushed away her head, which was crowding my pillow. It does have something to do with you, actually. Daisy's expression was extremely serious, making her look earnest yet silly. I couldn't help but laugh. You should have noticed this somewhat during the time you've been home. Father and mother are both gentle and kind people. They barely have a temper. This means mother's temperament is not suited to managing the household. She simply can't keep the staff or the other branches in line. Aunt Beatrice has always wanted to seize control. But her heart is corrupt. She is entirely focused on emptying the Harrison family coffers to support her good-for-nothing nephew. Aunt Sarah is similar to Mother. She has a gentle and soft-spoken nature. That is why, since I turned 13, Grandma Martha handed the management authority over to me. Before you returned to the manor, I was able to keep them in check. But ever since we received news of your return, the prevailing mood in the family changed. The second branch wanted to use the opportunity to kick you out? I shook my head. Not necessarily. I think they were just posturing. I am not without standing in the eyes of Grandma Martha, Father, and Mother. Besides, after raising me for so many years, they couldn't just cast me out on a whim. I believe Aunt Beatrice was simply asking for the moon so she could settle for less. While failing to kick me out, it would seem far more reasonable for her to demand the managerial power back. Aunt Beatrice took the opportunity to embezzle a large amount of the family's silver because she gambled that I wouldn't dare cause trouble at this moment. And I had already informed Grandma Martha of everything. Think about it. If Grandma Martha hadn't tacitly agreed, how could members of the second branch have gotten so close to you? Furthermore, your return to the Harrison family signaled something important. That is, both you and I have reached marriageable age, and I won't be managing the Harrison family for much longer. So, Grandma Martha indulged me in setting a trap for Aunt Beatrice. We pushed the amount she embezzled from the Harrison family to a level that the entire family would find unacceptable. In this way, we could destroy the second branch's schemes in one fell swoop, ensuring they could never gain control of the household. Whether the authority is returned to Mother or Aunt Sarah in the future, their governance will be much easier. I thought my explanation was thorough and clear, but when I looked at Daisy, she was already asleep. After the family dinner, the second branch quieted down as expected. Uncle Arthur felt he had wronged the entire family and locked Aunt Beatrice away, forbidding her from contacting her maiden family again. Miss Daisy watched the whole uproar in a confused haze, and then happily went back to not thinking about anything at all. I was always terribly envious whenever I looked at the carefree Daisy. Her little head was so empty that if you put small pieces of silver inside, you could hear them rattling when she walked. The Harrison family treasured Daisy like a precious gem, and naturally, people outside were taking notice of her. One day, just as I returned to the manor after finishing my work outside, I heard someone had come to propose marriage for Daisy. I paused, changed direction, and went in my parents' courtyard. Young Master Tristan? Mother nodded repeatedly. Yes. Audrey, do you know the Tristan family? They're Lady Tristan's maternal relatives. Father saw my expression was troubled and asked directly. Audrey thinks this marriage proposal is unsuitable? I didn't hesitate for a moment. It is unsuitable. Daisy absolutely cannot marry into the Tristan family. If anyone outside the Harrison family heard that, they would think I was jealous of Daisy. But my adoptive parents had complete faith in me. If Audrey says it's unsuitable, then it must be unsuitable. But Audrey, do you know young Master Tristan? I hesitated slightly. I have only heard a little about this young Master Tristan. That is not urgent. Father, Mother, I will arrange for someone to investigate young Master Tristan thoroughly later. Setting aside his character for now, judging by the actions of the Tristan family, they definitely have ulterior motives. The couple sat facing me, side by side. I inexplicably found their expressions familiar. It was the same look I seemed to see on Daisy's face every day. I sighed deeply in resignation. Father, mother, think carefully. How long has it been since Daisy returned to the manor? For so many years, I have been the one moving about the capital, bearing the title of the Harrison family's legitimate daughter. Furthermore, age-wise, I am slightly older than Daisy. For the Tristan family to disregard me, the Harrison family's eldest daughter, who has long resided in the capital, and instead propose marriage to the second daughter, who just returned to the capital. Either they are snobs who look down upon my adopted status, or there is something sinister going on in their own inner chambers. What sinister thing? Startled by Daisy's sudden appearance, I shot her a look and pulled her down to sit beside me. Wait until I find an exorcist to check it out for you. Father finally reacted at that moment. Audrey is right. If the Tristan family looks down upon Audrey's status, their character is deeply questionable. Moreover, our family has always raised Audrey as our legitimate daughter. Her name is on the family register. Outsiders have no right to provoke or criticize a daughter of the Harrison family. It seems there must be a problem in their inner residence. Anyone who knows the Harrison family in the capital knows how capable my eldest daughter is. Yet they deliberately bypassed Audrey and chose Daisy instead. They must have some shady agenda. Daisy had been listening intently for a long time and finally caught a key point. Dad, are you saying I'm stupid? Mother immediately pulled Daisy into her embrace. Oh dear. Who says my darling is stupid? You're the smartest, just like your father and me. I twitched my mouth, swallowing the comment I wanted to make. 7 days later, the money I spent returned the information I sought. Young Master Tristan is nothing but a useless man tied to his mother's apron strings. From childhood onward, he obeys his mother in matters large and small. From major decisions like which academy to attend or which tutor to select, down to minor things like which pair of boots to wear or which fan to carry. Therefore, the Tristan family isn't looking to acquire a daughter-in-law. They are selecting a puppet to bear and raise children. Most sickening is that Tristan, while unable to live without his mother's meticulous care, constantly acts out in rebellion. Over the years, every senior maid his mother arranged for him has, without exception, been taken to his bed. Mrs. Tristan has never, from beginning to end, believed her son did anything wrong. Whenever a maid spent the night in Tristan's room, she would inevitably be beaten and scolded by Mrs. Tristan the next day. These poor women were eventually married off to the lowest-ranking servants in the estate. The Tristan mother and son ruined these women's lives, yet they claim it was punishment for a maid attempting to climb into a master's bed. A whole family with rotten hearts and filthy motives, and they dare propose marriage to a daughter of Lord Harrison's house. Father was enraged upon hearing this. This is outrageous. Having said that, he stood up and began pacing circles around the room. Before I became dizzy, Mother finally persuaded the pacing father back into his chair. All right, don't get angry. Thankfully, Audrey investigated everything clearly. We just need to politely decline the Tristan family's offer. Although Daisy hadn't been back long, she understood me better than Lord and Lady Harrison did. As we left together, she suddenly leaned close to me. Do you really plan to just let the Tristan family off? I glanced at her, smiling. What? Were you expecting me to stand up for you? Daisy scratched her rosy cheek. It's not for me, is it? I think it's for yourself. You are so smart. How could you possibly let someone make a fool of you? You must be planning revenge. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I turned my head and whispered close to her. I have already arranged for someone to lead Tristan to the 100 Flowers brothel for entertainment. The courtesan queen there has taken my money, and she will certainly ensure young Master Tristan is too distracted to ever want to leave. If Mrs. Tristan wants to cause a scene, she can do it at the brothel. Either way, the Tristan family will be the one losing face. And what? And I discovered long ago that the major hidden proprietor of the 100 Flowers brothel is Lord Marcus. If the Tristan family offends Lord Marcus, Tristan's future will be completely ruined. Lady Tristan is merely a caged beast herself within the deep palace. She won't be able to save him. Daisy jumped up and took a step away, but after thinking for a moment, she moved back toward me with tiny steps. Those first few days after I returned to the manor, I caused some offense. I apologize to you. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I just pinched her chubby cheek. It was quite soft and smooth. I had been adopted by the Harrison family for many years. Lord and Lady Harrison and Daisy were, in my eyes, a nest of rabbits. Warm, soft, non-aggressive rabbits, allowing me, a fox, to squeeze in beside them for warmth. It wasn't until the flower viewing party hosted by Lady Isabella that I finally witnessed what an angry rabbit looked like. That day, because I had to meet a few shopkeepers, I arrived slightly later than Daisy. When I arrived, I happened to see her and another young woman being pulled apart by others. I quickly stepped forward and shielded Daisy behind me. What happened? Why the fuss all of a sudden? Was there some misunderstanding? Daisy tightly pursed her lips, her eyes red, looking as if she would burst into tears if she spoke. The girl opposite seemed convinced she was absolutely in the right and pointed at Daisy, starting to yell. I don't know how Lord Harrison's house educates its daughters. My sister and I were talking nicely, and she just rushed up and tried to hit us. I don't mind letting everyone see how rude and crude this girl retrieved from the countryside is. Daisy was indignant and tried to rush forward again, but I held her back firmly. I gently raised my hand and patted her head. Don't be afraid. Elder Sister Audrey is here. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, I remained unperturbed and smiled sweetly at the girl opposite. You needn't trouble yourself over how Lord Harrison's house educates its daughters, little sister. However, the disrespect you showed toward my sister Daisy is truly something that cannot be overlooked. How about you apologize to Daisy? I will overlook the rest. The young girl's face flushed crimson. I apologized to her? It was clearly her who. Before she could finish her sentence, I took a step forward and spoke softly close to her ear. The hairpin on your head is so unusual, little sister. If I'm not mistaken, this is the woven wings and twin lotuses piece that precious gem pavilion launched 2 months ago, isn't it? I wonder which young master holds the matching tassel for the fan? My dear sister, your mourning period hasn't passed, yet you have the refined taste too. I left the sentence unfinished, merely gently smoothing down her newly ruffled hair. The young girl's face went white, her eyes now filled only with pleading as she looked at me. I smiled and took her hand. You are both still young, squabbling is common enough. Be good, apologize to Daisy, and we can all remain good sisters afterwards. In the carriage returning to the mansion, Daisy repeatedly looked as if she wanted to speak, but stopped herself. I looked at her resignedly. Did you win the fight? Daisy paused, then nodded. Of course I won. I sighed, smiling. Winning is what matters. If you can't win an argument and you can't win a fight, I'll have to assign you 2 maids skilled in martial arts in the future. Daisy grinned mischievously and squeezed closer to me. Aren't you going to ask why I fought them? Aren't you going to blame me? The Harrison family trusted me unconditionally, and my trust in them was no different. It's nothing more than they were either gossiping about you or slandering me. Your reaction was perfectly reasonable. You were just a bit impulsive. You should have waited for me to arrive, so you wouldn't take a loss. Daisy tilted her head, watching me, finally looking a little afraid. Me acting like this. It won't cause trouble for the family, will it? I scoffed, arrogantly lifting my chin. What kind of trouble is this? If we made a ranking list of the biggest troublemakers in the family, you wouldn't even make the top 10. Daisy laughed and collapsed into my arms. Not long after, the Lord Harrison household once again received a matchmaker. This time, the proposal came from Prince Dominic, seeking the legitimate daughter of the Harrison family. They did not specify whether they favored Audrey or Daisy. But everyone in the Harrison household unanimously assumed it must be Audrey, the elder sister. Our parents deliberated for a long time, unable to determine the parties' true intentions. Eventually, they arranged an opportunity for Daisy and me to meet Princess Dominic. As expected, I received the jade bangle Princess Dominic removed from her own wrist. Daisy, meanwhile, received a brand new coral bracelet. If it were up to me, even if Princess Dominic had favored Daisy, I wouldn't have wanted her to marry into the Imperial family. But now that she hadn't been chosen, I wasn't sure if she felt disappointed. After several days of hesitation, I decided to proactively approach Daisy. Our relationship was harmonious now. I didn't want her to harbor any ill feelings. Prince Dominic's residence is not a place of fortune. Prince Dominic has many wives and concubines in the inner quarters, and the relationships are complicated. Princess Dominic only has the heir apparent as her son. It's less that she wishes to find a noblewoman from a high family as a daughter-in-law, and more that she wants to quickly find a helper for herself. Furthermore, the Prince Dominic household status is higher than the Harrisons. If you were to marry in and suffer loss in the inner residence later, your maternal family would have difficulty standing up for you. So, before I could finish, Daisy looked up from the small box in front of her. Audrey, look quickly. This is something good I specifically asked my mother to request for you. I was stunned for a moment before realizing. All these items were recently sent by Daisy's foster parents from Jiangnan. There were gifts for me inside, too. This is a golden mandarin duck sandalwood bracelet from Qingyin Temple. It's very effective for ensuring good marriage luck. Girls from Jiangnan always have their family request one for them before they marry. I specifically wrote a letter asking my mother to get it for you. What do you think? Aren't I good to you? Hee hee. I looked at Daisy's clear, bright eyes and couldn't help but laugh helplessly. How could I have worried that she might become resentful out of jealousy? My marriage was settled, and naturally, Daisy's was put on the agenda. Our parents spent their days sighing and groaning over a list of young men from esteemed families, finding fault with every single one. Originally, I shouldn't have been involved in this matter. But the Harrison family. Looking at my parents sitting across from me, I found this situation absurd myself. What family allows an adopted daughter to choose a son-in-law for their biological daughter? Audrey, is there really no suitable candidate for your sister in your mind? Father slapped his thigh. What did I tell you? Asking Audrey is definitely better than us racking our brains aimlessly. I smiled wryly and took out the information I had already gathered. The third young master of Lady Catherine's household is the husband I have chosen for Daisy. Their family previously sent someone to inquire with us, but Mother was worried then about the number of brothers and the complicated relationships. Lady Catherine has always had a good reputation in the capital. I've also met his two sisters-in-law at various occasions before. They seem to be kind and cheerful, and they are harmonious with each other. This time, I specifically sent someone to make inquiries, and I realized that Lady Catherine's residence is more suitable for Daisy than other families. Lady Catherine and her husband have 3 sons and 1 daughter. The second daughter is already married. Currently, the mother-in-law and daughters-in-law are close, and the sisters-in-law are harmonious in the inner residence. Although the household is large, there are no irritating troubles whatsoever. Moreover, the Lady Catherine household has excellent family standards. There are no concubines causing disruption by fighting for favor in the inner residence, and the children of both young masters are all born of the main wife. Although the third young master's achievements are not comparable to his 2 elder brothers, he excels in having a kind heart and a cheerful disposition. I hear he is an extremely interesting person. He loves eating, playing, and lively gatherings. He is very compatible with Daisy's personality. Also, the eldest sister-in-law already manages the household, with the second sister-in-law assisting. Daisy would marry in as a junior daughter-in-law who enjoys a comfortable life, without having to worry about anything. The more my parents listened, the more excited they became, wishing they could join hands and spin around. Good. 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 Audrey is reliable after all. I will immediately send a reply to the matchmaker sent by Lady Catherine's household. We'll find a chance for the 2 families to meet first. If everyone finds it suitable, we'll finalize Daisy's marriage. I watched the couple's delighted figures bounding away, utterly speechless. After all, this was the lifelong marriage of their biological daughter. Shouldn't they at least verify the details themselves? Fortunately, while Lord and Lady Harrison were unreliable, the Harrison family's eldest brother still had sense. Hearing that both his sisters were getting married sequentially, he specifically took leave and returned to the capital to see them off. The Harrison family was not without clever people. Julian was one of them. However, he was highly valued by the emperor and had been serving in an important position outside the capital. Julian had originally worried that his long-lost sister wouldn't get along with me. It wasn't until he personally witnessed Daisy standing up to defend me that he believed there was no one in the Harrison family I couldn't handle. Before Julian left the capital for his post years ago, he had repeatedly and painstakingly advised his parents, "Listen to Audrey in all matters concerning the residence, and definitely do not worry yourselves." This was the good thing about the Harrisons. They were obedient. As long as there was one intelligent person in the family, the entire family would obediently line up to rely heavily on them. Lord and Lady Harrison had mentioned more than once that adopting me was the most correct decision they had ever made. With me presiding over the Harrison household, it is a blessing for the entire family. I am not good at handling overly sentimental scenes, often dismissing them with a joke. But in truth, in my heart, wasn't joining the Harrison family an immense blessing for me? I was born skillful in scheming and quick to seek revenge. Had I not been long enveloped and nourished by the Harrison family's harmony and warmth, I fear I would commit murder and arson without remorse and take pride in doing evil. By the grace of heaven, I was granted entry into the Harrison family. For years, my parents have loved me dearly, and my siblings have been harmonious. To manage the inner residence of the Harrison family single-handedly is merely a trifling repayment. Sister's post-marriage anecdote. When Dominic returned home, I was teaching 2 young girls to recite the 100 family surnames. He was no longer surprised to find his sister-in-law's daughter in his own house. Skillfully, he retrieved 2 pieces of candy from his person. Dominic picked them up one by one, kissed them, and dismissed the children from their lessons early. Watching the 2 children run out of the courtyard hand in hand, Dominic quickly grabbed me and pulled me toward the room. I laughed and playfully punched him twice. Unable to push him away, I simply let him have his way for a moment. When Dominic was done kissing, he wrapped his arms around my waist and refused to let go. After struggling back and forth for a while, I finally had no choice but to sit obediently on his lap. "Is there a conclusion regarding the salt tax matter?" Dominic rubbed against my neck. "My wife is wise indeed. I brought your idea up to His Majesty today, and the Emperor actually agreed. My wife ought to be serving at court alongside me. It truly is a shame to keep you at home." I laughed and pushed away his big head. "I don't understand major court affairs. I merely applied empathy. Human calculation is always the same thing, chasing profit and avoiding harm. As long as the benefits of the new rules are ample, there's nothing irreplaceable about the old ones." Dominic clearly wasn't interested in discussing serious matters with me. "Tomorrow is my day off. Tonight, let's—" I immediately covered his mouth. "Stop. I promise to sleep with the 2 children tonight. His Grace, the heir apparent, will have to sleep alone." Dominic was displeased. Has Sebastian taken his wife out wandering and enjoying the scenery again? That scamp. I always thought he was unreliable, even when he was little. Wait until tomorrow, I'll tell his 2 older brothers on him. He spends all day taking his wife out to eat, drink, and have fun, then dumps his daughter on my wife. Is that appropriate? I was overcome with amusement, leaning against Dominic's shoulder and laughing. I can't entirely blame my brother-in-law. It's just that Daisy whined and acted spoiled. Honestly, they're an odd couple. She thinks that if her own daughter just stays with me, she'll turn out like me. Dominic was also amused by me. "My lady, if you put it that way, there is some sense in what my sister-in-law and her husband are doing. Our 2 little girls, I always think our daughter is a bit innocent and naive. But Sebastian's girl, she has your shadow in the way she speaks and acts." Wait, could the 2 children have been switched at birth? I was stuck between tears and laughter. My daughter is a full year older than Daisy's daughter. How could he even suggest such nonsense? In any case, I don't care. Tonight, I will arrange for someone else to tell the children stories and tuck them in. You must only stay with me. I can't sleep without you. If you don't agree, I will go complain to your parents. Not just your family, I'll even go complain to Sebastian's house. My stomach hurt from laughing. I could only focus on coaxing the most immature person in the house right in front of me. Achoo. Sebastian vigorously rubbed his nose. Daisy solicitously handed a small handkerchief to her husband. "What's wrong? Did you catch a cold?" Sebastian shook his head. It's nothing. Someone is probably cursing me behind my back. Daisy was quick to catch on. It must be my brother-in-law. He's so petty. Sebastian, having benefited, didn't mind being grumbled about a little. Oh, let him curse then. Hey, Daisy, look quickly. They're selling pear blossom pastry over there. Weren't you craving that yesterday? Come on, let's go, I'll buy you some. The two little Germans headed straight for the pastry shop, hand in hand. After all, the resentment belonged to the brother-in-law, but the happiness belonged to them.